Nothing is worth anything without risk.
And we felt that as students, we were in a better position to take those risks because there was little retaliation or direct retaliation that could be taken against us. It was sort of like a war room when we could come together and could act in concert and could act directly on a problem and had the courage to stand up and face that problem and take some action.
You have to work in concert, and you have to be committed. And when it comes to breakfast, a hen makes a contribution. The pig makes the commitment. And some of us just had to be piggish about it and risk making the long-term commitment.
I can recall standing in the line at the theater and being spat up on. And the violence come in, but all you did is take your handkerchief and wipe it off and smile. Every time we went on a demonstration, we made two important phone calls. One was to the media and the other was to the police department.
But we noticed things. For example, we were at places where the white thugs would show up in the pickup trucks, and the police, instead of leaving or coming over and harassing us, would get them away from us. And I saw that once or twice where there could have been some violent action. In other cities, the police had stepped back, signaling the thugs, okay, go ahead and crack some heads. But here in Houston, it was very noticeable that the police would go over to the pickup trucks, and you see the pickup trucks move away. There was a lot of maneuvering behind the scenes, and a lot of maneuvering by the powers that be. And we had learned that the mayor had had conferences with the head of the Chamber of Commerce, and they had made a decision that things in Houston were not going to go the way they had in Little Rock and some of the other cities where things had really exploded. Because Houston was and is a money town, and it did not want that money image damaged. We were not really aware of that at the time.
The media blackout was to kind of keep the thugs from knowing where we was going to be at, so the police department wouldn't have a route on their hand.
It played hard on our egos because we wanted that publicity. We wanted that visibility because we realized that, like roaches, you have to keep a spotlight on.
And we came to believe that the media blackout was being, again, orchestrated by the powers of the city to keep the city's image from being damaged across the country. And then we found out that some things would appear in other places. For example, we'd have a demonstration downtown. There wouldn't be anything in the Post the next morning, or the Chronicle, but we'd find someone from San Antonio would tell us about it. There are remnants. They're a lot more subtle. Of course, what we were dealing with quite often had to do with entrenched attitudes that in some instances were even required by law.
The problems are so entwined in economic Jim Crow that you have to kind of sort through them because they'll say, well, that's not race, that's economy. But if the playing field were leveled all the way around, the economic issues would not come.
You don't find those overt manifestations now, but you find some things that are done in a much more subtle fashion.
I think it's more alive today than it was back in the 60s and 70s. It's more subtle, but it's there. And the young kids today is going to have to step up to the plate and face the reality.
If we are 10% of the population, we blacks are 10% of the population, then we should have 10% of all the good things that America has to offer. We should have 10% of the doctors, lawyers. We should have 10% of the businesses. We should have 10% of all of the wealth of this country.
Oh,
we are a long, long way from that.
I apologize for my comment in the middle of your remarks.
Okay.
But you see, Oprah is holding that 10%. But the problem is, the world out there thinks it's all right. Well, we got one Negro with 10%, So she should be giving them to the rest of the Negroes. That's not how it works.
Keep your eyes on the prize. Read your history. Most of the young today don't know about the history, and they don't want to read about it. They just live in their own world.
Remember that your parents, your grandparents helped make that history. You know, too many young people don't have any interaction with their older generations. Go back and talk to the old people in your family. Raise some of these questions. And what you're going to find is more people than you realize were affected by the same things that we reacted to.
They have to recognize the history of this country, and they have to recognize the position that we occupy vis-a-vis the rest of it, and speak out against that. Become knowledgeable about it, first of all. Become aware about it. Don't become so concerned about their own little personal position, but reflect back to, as we did, to the group, to the race, and be concerned about everyone who falls within this category that we characterize as being black.